It's such a cool concept that obviously originated from Japan and also America. Now it's come to Australia, and it's a bunch of loonies getting together and building some really seriously cool cars, and it's all about that one ultimate lap. There's not many categories in the world that you can go and race and there's no holes barred, there's no conserving anything. It's just as much power as you can have, as much grip, downforce, and do everything you possibly can for that one ultimate lap. They're seriously fast cars. When you think of our Tilton Evo being 6.5 seconds faster than the actual Supercar around now on a road legal tyre, it's exciting.
It's a very pure form of motorsport. It's just one lap, balls out as fast as you can go, and it's the same with the cars as the driver. The cars are turned up to 11, you got to do the same with yourself. It's just, there's no easing into it or warming up. It's just bang, you have to do a lap. Yeah, it's really enjoyable.
Hi and welcome to the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge for 2014. I'm Annette Melton, and joining me all the way from California is Toshi Hayama. Thanks for making the flight over, Toshi.
It's great to be here. This year's Time Attack is going to be bigger, better, and faster. And with the most competitors ever, we're in for a jam-packed schedule.
That's right, non-stop action on track, including drag racing, drift, and plenty of time attack.
Also, not only do we have the legendary Mazda 767B and the unique Gymkhana Peugeot, we've brought together the fastest time attack cars from Japan, US, and Australia to compete here.
That's right, and don't forget there's plenty of off-track entertainment, including the Miss Time Attack show and shine, drift displays, and more. So let's get straight into the action.
Time to check out some of the different categories running here this weekend, and we'll start off with the Club Sprint class. They're road-registered cars with a minimum weight of no less than 5% of the factory weight. We run very restricted aerodynamics here. It's for the amateur drivers only, running on Yokohama control tyres. For the Nissan fans, the R35 GTR class is actually split into Pro and Tuner. In Pro, we've got unlimited aero, unlimited engine mods, but can't go over 3.8 litres in capacity. For the Tuner guys, all those areas are fairly heavy limited. Most entries this weekend come in the open class. We're allowed to go 15% lower than the factory weight. We run on Yokohama's controlled radial tyre. There's unlimited engine modifications. It's also open to pro and amateur drivers. Last year we saw the introduction of the Pro-Am class, where there are really little to no restrictions on engine or aero work. We see plenty of extensive carbon fibre as well in these bodies. The minimum weight of these cars is 20% less than the factory weight was originally. We're also running on that Yokohama control radial tyre, and this one's for the amateur drivers. And then we have the Pro class. This is where we find the big guns and the best cars. There's little to no restrictions on engine work or aero work. The weight has to be no more than 20% less of the factory weight originally was in that car. We see plenty of amazing machines here running on the control Yokohama tyre, and we can expect to see some pro drivers. Time to check out these amazing machines in their natural habitat on the racetrack here at Sydney Motorsport Park. First up is Just Car Insurance Club Sprint class. Big welcome to Chris Diggles alongside me, and Dan Farquhar started the weekend off nicely, already into the 1:40s.
This guy has been the one to beat in the Club Sprint category for many years. The Evo Lancer every year a little bit quicker, a little bit more developed. It's going to be hard to beat this year as well.
The Evo 6 of Scott Stewart slotted into second with a 1:40.92. More Mitsubishi power on track right now with Jason Naidu.
There's a whole lot of the Evos up around that minute 40, minute 41, and then you've got the rear-wheel drive cars here like Paul McKee, the Newlon R34, the mid-engine Lotus here as well. It's an incredible variety. And Blake Jones, one of our front-wheel drive vehicles in Club Sprint, has given that a real nudge in the little Colt.
Yeah, the Colt pushing a little bit too hard at the exit to turn 4. Charlie Dang was also pushing very hard, an ex-Super Lap winning car, just overdoing it slightly, and again at Corporate Hill.
Now, one of the fan favourites this weekend, the Tune House Racing Toyota 86. Now, remember, the 86 is not as developed as the Evo Lancers per se, but geez, aren't these cars starting to come around in their numbers? And I wouldn't be surprised next year a ton more 86s at World Time Attack. For old Blake Jones's Colt, he obviously sustained some damage there, and you want to bring that thing over to the side before you put any liquid out there on the track.
Then it was time for the final shootout, the last chance to see if anyone could go under Dan Farquhar's time, and John Richardson pushing very hard in the R33 en route to finishing 5th.
the shootout gives you one more shot, one more fast lap out there to try and really push and jump over everyone.
David Lord with massive commitment in the WRX. He would manage to sneak into second position and jump over Jason Naidoo as well, and Scott Stewart, but Dan Farquhar, he would get that time down to a 1 minute 39 despite having some major issues.
Yeah, it's not looking 100% at the moment there, but that minute 39, 9.71, good for top of the pops.
In the end, it would be David Lord slotting into second in the Subaru WRX, and then a bit of a flood of Mitsubishi Evos with Naidoo, Stewart and John Richardson rounding out the top 5. One of the greatest things about Yokohama World Time Attack is there's plenty of colour, whether it be in the sky or down here in the pits. And no shortage of things to see and do or look at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend.
Well, the midday madness is always a spectacle. We take a bit of a break from the World Time Attack laps and we look to the sky, we look to the track, and we see all sorts of things a little bit crazy. Things with wings in the air and things with wings on the ground, Chad. An amazing time of day.
Yeah, we let some of the drift guys loose out on the track. Here's Levi Clark, a Queenslander, who'll be one of the hot favourites here for Formula Drift Asia, letting it all hang out down the front straight. But there's nothing crazy than this guy, Mad Mike Widett. He's here in the quad rotor. The boys is trying to have a bit of fun, including Shane Van Gisbergen, who's out there in the Drift Syndicate car. And we can expect to see the gears a bit later on in the Pro Class here this weekend.
Has an absolute ball, whether he's driving the V8 Supercar, whether he's driving the drift car or the MCA Hammerhead. Look in car here, Mad Mike Widett, the Rocket Bunny RX-7, and of course Haltech Oils smoking up the straight.
Yeah, this is James Abbott, who's a regular contender at Sydney Motorsport Park with numerous drift shows, and Abbott letting it all hang out. The Power Tune Nissan team are the boys to watch in the hotly contested open class. And in 2014, Steve Carr has called upon the expertise of Dean Lilly to help him take the gold.
I shouldn't call it the circus show, but to me it seems like the spectacle of the whole event, like the international competitors that come, the workshops that are involved, the celebrities, the local tuning shops, all getting to showcase what they've done all year round, what they've worked for so hard throughout the years.
I've been lucky enough to be in good equipment this year and last year. Last year with BC Automotive, that was a customer's car that he offered me to drive, which was awesome. And we ended up winning it, which was also a good thing. You never knock those back. And this year, Steve Carr called me earlier in the year and said, hey, we're going to have a pretty good go at it. Do you want to come and have a drive of this thing? And we hit it off from day one and got some good results.
You know, you've got your race team behind it that takes care of all the mechanical work. You've got your tuners and that sort of thing. And one thing I noticed when Dean was obviously won 2013 in a 32 GTR, I realised that he had the experience which brought it to a whole new level. Obviously working on V8 supercars and that sort of stuff, that level of professionalism is what you need to bring.
We move now to V-Sport Open Class, and now we get to see some of the heavy hitters as we do split up some amateur drivers with some of the pro drivers, but also it's a mixture between privateer teams and some of the heavy tuners.
What they all have in common is an absolute attack at the track with all sorts of different platforms, including Nathan Antunes, S14, getting very, very loose there. The Carbon Plus, Evo Lancer there of Tarzan Yamada putting a few good laps in throughout the weekend. And doesn't matter what platform you got, whether it's the Evo or the rear-wheel drive, they all seem to do well.
Now, in the open class, it was really Dean Lilly who stole the show. First lap for the weekend in the R32, and it was a 1:30.9 straight out of the trailer.
Yeah, the track is normally pretty good in the first session of every day because the heat's not all the way in there. I think it suits the radial tyres to just have that little bit of temperature in their corner. But there's a fair share of drama in this one as everyone was finding the adhesion limits. And it doesn't matter what type of car you got out there, you're trying to find your adhesion limits, including Blakely in that amazing top stage 240Z. All sorts of issues locking it up.
Yeah, it looks like it's fairly terminal now. This was a major moment. Adam Tan in the Toyota 86. Watch this for an off. Gets it crossed up at the exit of turn 1. Goes flying off through the gravel and digs. How this thing didn't go over onto its roof, I'll never know.
All it had to do was dig into that gravel and we would have seen that immaculate Cusco absolutely flat. And look at this, snaps around, goes over the grass and lucky enough skims over that gravel. If he'd been 5 more degrees perpendicular to that, I think it would have been a different story.
Turn 1, it is the fastest part of this track. And amazingly, that thing stayed on all fours. Benny Tran was running strong, banging down a 1 minute 31.49. That'd be good enough to leave him in 5th in the BYP Racing Honda.
Well, it doesn't discriminate here in open class. You can be four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, as the BYP team proved. This car also, supercharged Honda, one of the loudest things in the place.
Sounds amazing as it goes screaming down through turn 1. But we did get the old school look as well of the 944 Porsche in the hands of Paul McKinnon. And this thing with a 131.4 second time would end up in 4th.
And is not mucking around indeed. That's an amazing car. Tarzan Yamada, well, he's got plenty of history here at World Time Attack. He did run the 3rd quickest time in the open category, but it looks like the tech department picked him on some illegal aero. So look, the time was good, but the car was unfortunately deemed to be a little bit illegal in the aero department. You are allowed a little bit of aero, but apparently there's a little bit more aero in that than what the rules did allow.
Disappointing for the Carbon Plus team. So that meant that when we got into the Super Lap Shootout, there'll be some big times to look out for. And John Boston, well, this 131.39 would move him up to 3rd position in the Road Track Rally Evo 10.
He jumped over the Porsche in the shootout and he had to do it. He was very quick throughout the weekend, but then pushed very hard in the shootout to do that jump, and that's where it can happen in the shootout. Boston, well, a little bit of smoke coming out of the Evo 10 now, and he's walking away from it.
As we said earlier, the man of the moment, though, was Dean Lilly. Now, he'd already run a 130.98 in the R32 GTR. Now he went and hopped into this car, which is the Steve Carr's R34 entry, and this was a very impressive lap. He would lower that bar by half a second. Riding on board now, Chris, this is the championship-winning lap in the open class.
And the R34, again, when you look at overall weights of all the cars in the open category, the R34's got to be one of the heaviest there. So you've got to make up as far as balance and horsepower, and then you've got to have a good driver like Dean Lilly, and this guy knows how to push. There's no shortage of horsepower from the Powertune team either.
Screaming his way up towards turn 6. And this car is incredibly good at getting out of the corners and laying its power back down. Great shot to see the footwork of Dean Lilly as he motors his way back around Corporate Hill, and hard on the brakes and having to drive a few different lines here because there have been a couple cars leaving some oil on the racetrack.
Yeah, turn 9, very hard to get the thing pointed in, but then it's all horsepower. Brings a little bit of dust on the exit to that, but here comes the power all the way through these turns. Again, just that transition left, transition right, set it up for the final corner. If you can get one in good around this corner, it's going to be a quick lap, and this is what Dean Lilly is able to do.
Feeding the power, and you can see the rear end of the R34 wanting to step out, and that time was a 1 minute 30.43, half a second under the time he set in the R32, and these cooling conditions late in the day really suiting the Yokohama radial tyres. Best part was, that wasn't going to be enough fun for Dean Lilly. He decided to see if he can go and get the R32 under that time. He's already 1st and 2nd at this point, but he thought he'd take Lightning McQueen out there for one more try. The best he could manage, though, was a 1 minute 31.
The grip level out there during the shootout was surprisingly good for late in the afternoon, but Dean Lilly, Lightning just didn't have enough to overtake the R34 monster.
So in the end, he would end up with those 2 quick times for Powertune, the Nissan dominating this weekend. But John Boston doing a good time, unfortunately blowing the Mitsubishi Evo 10 up. It would be a Porsche in 4th and a Honda in 5th.
If you're running 2 cars in a normal race weekend where you're doing 20-odd lap races and jumping into the other, it'd be sort of hard on the body, I guess. But the one-lap screamers, it's not hard physically or mentally. I guess it's probably better in a way because you are getting more laps at an event made up of one-lap screamers, I guess. And they're very similar cars, a little bit different in the front end geometry and handling, but very similar to drive. The bloke on the podium said, let's see F1 do this. You know, so the only type of event where you can come 1st and 2nd, I guess. It was good, and it was really, interesting vibe in the garage. It was almost like the guys were joking about it being a Weber Vettel type environment with the 2 cars racing against each other. The They did have separate teams out of the guys working on the two cars, so there was a bit of rivalry there as well. All good fun, of course. But yeah, it came down to me against me in the end. There was a couple of guys out there in the shootout trying to put me away, but didn't end up happening. Yeah, I don't know. Great experience. So I'll take first and second any day.
Well, this is very special and some unbelievable bits of history rolling out onto the Sydney Motorsport Park GP circuit as part of the midday mayhem. And it's kind of a situation where you don't really know where to look.
Well, it's just an amazing rolling museum. It's a history lesson, if you may, of various cars and their big impacts they made in their various classes of motorsport, including, as we can see out there, the Sierra, Cosworth Sierra. We've got the RX-7 out there, of course, the old Group C days. Here, a bit of Group A there, of course, that Haltech Sierra, the GT40, the Cerrito. There's just so much stuff everywhere, Chad. You're right, you don't know where to look.
Now, if this was an actual race, I think the GT40 Ford would leave everyone for dead. And the Cerrito doing a good job to keep up with it as they just cruise around. Good to see a Ginetta in there as well, GT4 car.
How's the Lancia World Rally car in there as well? I mean, again, if they all put their hammer down and they were racing for sheep stations, well, first of all, these things are probably too expensive to be trading paint, but I wouldn't know where the quickest lap would lay there, Chad. There's certain toughness in all of the cars out there.
Well, that Lancia comes from the Killer Bee days, doesn't it, of World Rally when it was at its scariest, and the Chickadee Cerrito, this thing's very cool.
Well, again, one of the cars etched in motoring history in the early days when we used to run our V8s, our 6s and our 4s all in the one category, being the Touring Car Championship. And again, the ex-Alan Moffat RX-7, again, what were you thinking back in the early days of Group C with the V8s, that you take a lightweight rotary and change the landscape forever?
Speaking of changing the landscape, I think that's what the GT40 achieved at Le Mans. 4-time winner throughout the 60s, had some famous names like Bruce McLaren and those guys driving them around in the 60s. And then also the Ford Escort, talking about cars that were so successful for years and years and still doing well on the rally circuits today. Now it's time, if you're a Nissan fan, to engage with us because we have the R35 GTR class, which is split into two categories, that being the Pro and the Tuner categories, but it's really about the battle between the top secret and HKS tuning teams.
That's right, the two baddest R35s on the planet, on the one track, on the one weekend, World Time Attack, the Motul Competition Oil R35 GTR class. Tarzan Yamada in the top secret R35 and Nob Taniguchi in the HKS car.
But first we're going to check out how it all went down in the tuner class, and that was also a close battle, but it was fought between Brian Bew and Phil Sutcliffe.
Yeah, Bew, he pushed his R35 to the point of, well, the limits of the balance of the car, like throwing the car around. It's a four-wheel drive car, for heaven's sake, but he pushed the limits on those tyres in the Just Car Insurance R35. But Suddy didn't do too bad either.
Now then, through to the Pro class and that battle between Yamada and also Taniguchi. And this is Tarzan Yamada pushing very hard through that turn one part of the circuit. And how unreal is this HKS R35?
Tarzan Yamada finding every little inch of grip that he can in the top secret car, finding his way around. He's done plenty of laps to do here this weekend. But Nob Taniguchi had some problems too.
Yeah, Taniguchi, this is on the Friday, pulled over early, and that meant that Tarzan Yamada was out there on the racetrack by himself trying to lower that bar, would eventually take that lead, but it wasn't for too long because Taniguchi got the HKS Skyline back on track and took top spot away from him, once again bringing this thing onto the front straight, laying the power down onto the back end, trying to step away from him, and this was a very, very impressive time.
These aren't exactly the lightest machines out there, Chad, but geez, 1 minute 30.838. That is absolutely booking around Sydney Motorsport Park, considering the weight of the car. Shootout mode, though, Tarzan Yamada works so well at shootout mode. He does push so hard, glowing brake discs. Sparks off the splitter. He's pushing it here, Chad.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Tarzan, he couldn't quite get down. Look at him trying to get the power out of the last corner. Chasing that 1 minute 30.83. The best he could manage was a 1 minute 31.72. Despite this level of commitment, look how fast this thing is bouncing its way down the front straight. 1 minute 31.7. The quickest time coming out of that shootout for him, but it would be Nob Taniguchi for HKS, who would end up being the fastest out of the R35 GTR class. 1 minute 40.35, the quickest for Brian Bew in the tuner class. Well, we're ducking off to an ad break, but don't go too far. We've still got the Flying 500 to come, and then we check out some different machinery, the Mazda 767B, made famous at Le Mans, and also a very special rally car powered by a Renault 3.5 Model T. A bit more about that coming up shortly, and then it's the big one, the Pro Class Shootout. So don't go anywhere. This is the Yokohama World Time Attack. Time to check out one of the big head turners here at the World Time Attack show. It is Alex Kelsey in his Peugeot 206. This thing's powered by a Renault 3.5 motor, which is used in open wheel racing in Europe, the kind of stuff that Daniel Ricciardo used to get into Formula One. It's a real head turner. It's hand built, and Annette Melton's down with a 21-year-old Kiwi right now.
We know that you custom built this all yourself.
Built the whole car, obviously with the help of some really good friends. It took 2 years from nothing to what it is now.
Talk me through what's going on here. There's so much going on in the back.
Yeah, it's built of all sorts of bits and pieces from around the world. So that engine's from Renault World Series 3.5, so like a feeder series to Formula One. The wheels are off a Ford World Rally car, the brakes are off a Subaru World Rally car. It's all put together to build this.
And why did you choose those specific things for this car?
I wanted the engine because it makes that awesome noise. And I wanted it in the back, so the back...
So is it all about the cool factor for you?
Totally, yep, it's got to be cool, otherwise what's the point?
And what can this car do?
It's primarily built as a gravel rally car, so for doing jumps and things like that, but obviously we can do things like Gymkhana we're going to do today. We can pretty much do anything we want with this car.
Part of the Midday Mayhem show, Diggles, was to get this car out in front of the crowd.
Yep, and I tell you what, it's not just the way that it looked, it's the way it sounds.
Haunting almost.
Just the amazing echo. And look, we put a few witches hats out there for Alex to play around with. It's his own little Gymkhana. He's doing it from point A to point B and letting it rip. And I think one of the other amazing things about it is just because the guy has built it himself. That's what really does make it amazing.
Well, here at Yokohama World Time Attack, it's not all about the cars. We decided that we needed to spread our attention into some other areas, so enjoy. Different action on track right now. This is the Turbo Smart Flying 500, where we run the reverse weight up the front straight, that incredibly nice Lamborghini Aventador, and some big Nissan NOS power as well. And we're going to check out some of the faster cars that we did see. So they're allowed a 100 km/h run up. There's a nice MR2, and they gas it up on the start line. And as you can see, anything's welcome to have a crack at the Turbo Smart Flying 500. A real head turner here this weekend. Check this out. This is impressive. The Nissan getting there at 100 k's an hour, lights it up and smokes the tyres the whole way down. Parachutes needed to pull this thing up, and it's cool seeing, I guess you could say, drag racing back on the front straight at Sydney Motorsport Park in the direction that they used to go drag racing in. Here's PJ Tironi. He's busy inside this car right now. Hands switching between gear stick and steering wheel, pulling some gears and getting over 260 k's an hour. It was all Nissans really dominating the top spots. Kia Wilson here as well, pulling upwards of about 275 k's an hour on that run. But you've got to see this thing to believe it. Haltech and Elite coming on board out of the Mercury workshop. This is Trent White. This thing puts out over 1,200 horsepower, and it went at over 300 kilometers per hour. Wild, wild stuff. And in the end, we saw some massive passes laid down in the Turbo Smart Flying 500.
Okay, right now we're standing in the paddock area, and I'm here with Matt from Haltech Engine Management Systems. You know, you guys have a huge presence here at the race, and I know that your systems are being used on a lot of the cars. What kind of stuff did you bring to the event today?
We've got a bit of everything here. We've got some product sales going on, so we have ECUs, obviously, but also we've got merchandise, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, that sort of stuff, and obviously we've got a trade show display just showing off what we do.
So I'm noticing that, you know, you in addition to fuel management systems, you have all kinds of meters. And how does your relationship with the teams and drivers affect your development process for your new, you know, management systems?
That's actually a really good question. We spend a lot of time with race teams. It's one of the advantages of being one of the bigger engine management companies. So we have the time and the staff to spend time in the workshops, in the pits with the race teams. I guess a quick example of that is being able to set custom maps. So we got our ECU on Andrew Brilliant's Eclipse, and he says to us, you know, I really want a map that can adjust the ignition timing based on G's and steering angle, for example, as I come through a corner or maybe as it goes down the straight. So we said, okay, that's no problem. That sounds like a good idea. We'd never thought of a map like that before, but hey, we can put that in the software. So that's the kind of thing that you get when you work closely with the race teams.
So I couldn't help but notice you're holding this new product here. Tell us a little about this one.
Actually, yeah, this is the new Haltech Elite ECU. We are releasing that actually at the event this weekend. So it's a big weekend for us. We've got a bunch of staff coming out here. Our R&Ds, the guys, are all coming out to see the ECU in action. Obviously, they've been working on it for a long time. But it's a brand new product release. It's the next generation of ECU for us. We're really excited to see it hit the market.
Next up, we're checking out the Pro-Am class thanks to turbos by Garrett, and plenty of Garrett turbos kicking around the pits this weekend, looking and sounding great. And well, to put it simply, this is big power, high aero cars, but in the hands of the guys who aren't as professional or as experienced as some of the other boys around here this weekend.
These effectively can be pro category cars. You just can't have the pro driver in them. As you can see, the immaculate Sutton brothers, Sylvia. Oh, and James Weller had a big moment that he had on the start of turn 12. Not the place you want to be starting to push the limits. Talk about pushing the limits here, Chad.
Yeah, Dave Darwin in the RX-8. Unfortunately, the rotary motor has gone the ghost at the end of the front straight. Major damage there. And some of the big names started to step up.
Miata Sumihiko, whose very first trip to Australia for World Time Attack, pushed hard very early, went minute 32.10 and was putting himself on the podium for the Pro-Am category. And considering the guy hasn't had that many laps around Sydney Motorsport Park, that's an impressive move.
Wayne Sutton, though, he was also up for the fight, dished out a 1 minute 30.42, so found 2 seconds on that earlier time from Sumihiko. So very impressive considering these were the early Friday times.
But the story was Mick Sigsworth, a big rebuild from last year and an astonishing time. Uncorked a minute 25.27, absolutely smashes the field by about 4 seconds. An amazing outright performance from him, considering that car, again, virtually brand new for this year.
He's down there with Toshi.
Right now I'm down in the pits. As you guys just saw, I'm here with Mick. He just ran the fastest time of the day in a Pro-Am car, beating out a lot of the pro cars. How does it feel right now to be on top?
Yeah, no, it feels great. I've seen the lap time come up at a 1:25.3 or something, I think it was. So, you know, it's great. The car was awesome. Everyone's done a lot of work over the last few months, so it felt great.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Time Attack that makes it so exciting. Is this something you expected, especially on the first day?
Definitely not. We haven't been this fast before, so we've seen high 27s in testing, so to probably go under by 2 seconds is it's great, yeah.
So what do you think was the determining factor that allowed you to get into this deep time?
In the last session, we were actually supposed to turn the boost up, but the boost controller wasn't working, so thanks to Dave and the guys, they've been able to turn the boost up for me, and yeah, had a great run. So no traffic, it was good.
Great work, Mick Sigsworth. He ends up being 5 seconds clear of the rest of the field didn't even bother coming out for the Super Lap Shootout, which is where we saw a great battle for the minor positions, and it all started around Miata Sumihiko.
Sumihiko pushed very, very hard in the shootout. He needed to. There was a whole lot of competitors coming right behind him. He moved into third with a minute 31.685, but then the little Mighty Mouse started to nibble at the heels of all the turbocharged beast in Pro-Am, pushed lap after lap, got himself into the 31s as well with a 31.843, but before that had pushed Sumihiko out of the podium. It was only that great lap by Sumihiko right at the death kept the Mighty Mouse off the podium, which is surprising. That's an aspirated car, Chad.
Yeah, Rob Nguyen just missing out on that podium, like you said, by less than 0.2 of a second, chasing down the big R34 GTR. Very impressive. The Sutton brothers would slot into second, but it's all about Mick Sigsworth, a 125.2, good enough to take the top step of the podium. One car that I know a lot of people have come to see here this weekend is the car that Mazda launched their efforts at the Le Mans 24-hour race with. This is the 767 that raced in the late 80s before the 787B would eventually go on to win the Le Mans 24-hour race in the hands of the likes of Bertrand Gachot, Johnny Herbert and Stefan Johansson. But right now, it's all about this amazing 13J4 rotor, 600 horsepower. Fantastic. Still to this day, the only Japanese car to win Le Mans 24 hours. Mazda, fantastic having them here. Well, after the break, it's the Pro Class Shootout thanks to Royal Purple. You do not want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. With a target on his back this weekend is Garf Walden, driving for the Tilton Evo team. The defending champs have a lot of work to do here in 2014.
I'm 32 years of age. I've been racing now for 16, 17 years. Obviously started in state level racing, everything from HU Holdens to V8 Supercars, Sports Sedans, now World Time Attack. So obviously it's a passion of mine. I've grown up as a kid racing go-karts, had a couple of years stints in motorbikes as well. And sort of, yeah, it's been my life, it's been my passion and my dream. This is our second car. Costa team owner, we had a Evo 9 previously as well, that we won the Australian Super Lap Championship with before I went to World Time Attack, and now this is our second car that we built. So now we've campaigned this car for 4 years now. Obviously it's built in-house in our Tilton and T&M Automotive workshop. It's, as I said, 1,000 horsepower, 106-speed sequential gearbox, huge aero package from Voltex in Japan. Big brakes. The car is just, it's an animal. It's one event all year I love to jump in that car. Like it's the ultimate rush you can actually have in a race car, I think. Because the cars are what they are, and you know, it's very hard to test with a full-blown pro class time attack car, because one, the expense, two, you know, you do laps at a time, trying to get the circuit where is the right day, where you have no traffic. Like it all adds together. So for us, we do a small amount of testing, and we try and do most of our testing on simulation on the computer. So, and then for our team, obviously the whole car goes through a whole rebuild from each time attack, basically. So that's rebuilds of engines, gearboxes, diffs, hubs, wheel bearings. Everything has to start new again, otherwise you only get one time attack out of it, and then pull the car to a bare tub, rebuild the whole car, put it back together for the event.
Over 22,000 fans here at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend, and this is what they are here to see. It's the Royal Purple Pro Class, and now we see the big cars in the best hands possible, including guys like Max Cerrito, but even guys like Max Cerrito were having their troubles this weekend.
Oh, they're all pushing, and again, finding that grip limit is what it's all about, as is Shane van Gisbergen, absolutely on the limit in the MCA. Hammerhead, 2 bites at turn 1. Oh, careful there, Giz. He was very, very fast early on in the day. And remember, plenty of laps around Sydney Motorsport Park for a lot of our pro category drivers.
But in the end, it was Japanese star Under Suzuki with the early pace. It was a 1:25. He's down there with Toshi.
Okay, we're at the pit area right now with Under Suzuki, who just ran a 1 minute 25-second run. It is almost 2 seconds quicker than his last run, so we'll see what he has to say about his last run. 今すごいタイムを出したと思うんですけれども、今どういう感じですか？
いや、オーストラリア来て3ラップ目のアタックだったんで、だいぶまだまだ攻められるところたくさんあると思うんですけど、昨日からちょっとエンジンの水が吹いちゃうとかでトラブル抱えてたんですけど、大丈夫そうなんでほっとしてます今。
So first off, this is his 3rd lap since coming into Australia. Yesterday they had some cooling problems, but being able to get this time, they're very comfortable right now. 今回の車のセットアップ、去年に比べてどういうなんか変更とかそういうのをやってましたか？
空力を効かせるために、ダウンフォースをたくさん出すために、リアのサスペンションもダブルフッシュボーンにして、ダウンフォースを去年よりもたくさんつけられるようにしてきました。エアロをたくさんね。
あとは秘密ですか？
いやいや、秘密なことないですよ全然。
So compared to last year, they really focused on getting on more downforce. They changed the rear suspension to double wishbone, and really just focusing on downforce. And I asked if the rest was a secret, and he's like, no, it's not really a secret.
Very quiet guy when he's in the pits, but let me tell you, when he's out there on the track, he's an absolute giant of the sport. Under will continue to push to try and find the ultimate lap, shaving a 10th here and a 10th there, and it's amazing he didn't tear up more carbon fibre the way he's been going there, Chad, as is this guy.
Yeah, Shane van Gisbergen with a big moment through turn 1. The back end nearly got away from him. Goes out onto the grass there, and he did a very good job to make sure that that thing didn't spear off and find the left-hand inside wall. Max Cerrito pushing hard and getting under the 1 minute 30s in the RE Amamiya RX-7. Doing a good job this weekend with the M150 sponsorship on board, and he's down there with our boy Toshi.
Yes, okay, I'm in the pits right now standing next to Max Cerrito. He's the driver of the RE Amamiya FD Hurricane. Right now, he just came into the 29-second category. Let's see how he felt about that run. やっと29秒で入ったんですけれども、今どういう調子ですか？どういう感じですか？
まだ、車のバランスを探ってる最中で、今の走行でニュータイヤを入れたんだけど、多分ドリフトの後だったからかコンディションがすごい悪くてちょっとスリッピーだった。でもう少し車を決めたい。
Right now, he's just took the car out, so they're trying to figure out the condition of the car. And to him right now, because it was right after the drifting session, the course conditions weren't optimal. So they're still feeling out the car right now.
Getting faster and faster on the track is V8 Supercar star Shane van Gisbergen, getting down into the 1 minute 26s where Garf Walden is.
Yeah, now he has said that every time he's taken that car out there, look, problems for Garf Walden experienced throughout the weekend. But again, the front end grip that the Giz was talking about was amazing. But this looks like it was a big issue early in day 1. You don't want to fire into these things because you can have all sorts of troubles. Day 2, though, was a different day. It was a different car. It was a different Garf Walden. The confidence was back. The pushing was 110% again in that car. You couldn't get it any lower to the ground, Chad.
This would be the new benchmark for the weekend. A 1 minute 24 lap has finally been cut. You get the feeling that there's still more to come out of this amazing Tilton Evo. So the defending champions getting down towards their times from last year, a 124.8 last year, and you get the feeling that we might see even more from the Super Lap Shootout.
That raised the bar as far as who can be on the podium for 2014. Everyone was pushing. We saw Garf Walden with the 24. It was now a case to see what everyone else could do. Under Suzuki, you knew, was not going to take it lying down. Nor were people like Max Cerrito struggling again to get that front end grip a little bit too deep on some corners and just lost the REMME flagship cold on that corner just about here. Whoa!
And other good guys out on the track.
Oh, Under Suzuki, push. You know, he got his nickname because he always used to drive a car with so much understeer, he was still able to go fast, and it just goes to prove that all this aero, the under is starting to go out of Under Suzuki, but it doesn't mean that the car isn't quicker. It's 2 seconds quicker than it was last year. How does he go about trying to get in front of Garf Walden? He did set that 25 early in the weekend. It's now a case of trying to play catch up.
Max Cerrito not taking this lying down this weekend, pushing too hard once again in the REMME car and spearing off at turn 6. He would be stuck there for a bit. Let's just watch this on board once again, trying to get the car pulled up, downshifting with the left hand, loses the rear end, gets it stuck in the gravel, and at the moment has a few more seconds to find.
Trying to find every inch of the racetrack where there's an advantage. The Pulse Evo driven by Paul McKinnon this weekend. Oh boy! Let's go. A little bit of fluid there to clean that up off the track to get the premium condition back there for all of our pro category drivers. Under Suzuki again continues to push. They do say, Chad, if you don't have the odd off, you're not pushing hard enough, and you can never criticise Under Suzuki of doing anything other than push.
Nob Taniguchi back on track. We saw him earlier, but now he's out there in the pro category, racing in the top fuel machine. And at the moment, he sits in 4th with a 1 minute 26, just been kind of keeping his nose clean at the moment, and does set the scene nicely. So we've got Garf Walden, your top man, but Under Suzuki, Shane Van Gisbergen, Cerrito, and Taniguchi are all chasing. Well, this is it. It's time now to find out who's going to win Yokohama World Time Attack Challenger at Sydney Motorsport Park. The big names are out there on the track, and there is the man who currently leads it in the Tilton Evo. It's Garf Walden.
It's the Royal Purple Pro Class Shootout, our final session of the weekend. And boy, what can we see here? Garf Walden in the 24s. He's the only one in the 24s. And geez, he's going to have to defend it. I think everyone's got plenty of performance in their corner. Not only Under Suzuki, Shane Van Gisbergen, you can't rule out Max Cerrito or Nob Taniguchi on any one flying lap.
Here is Shane Van Gisbergen. Won a couple races here in V8 Supercar trim this year, but that was in wet weather racing. And in the MCA Nissan, I think he's going to be a good chance here as the conditions are really starting to come around nicely. And he'll be the first to start us off. So flying start down the front straight, pulling gears, and Shane Van Gisbergen begins his Super Lap Shootout.
Flying down in nearly 300 k's into turn 1. Now remember, this corner he's been finding tenths into turn 2. Now you can't say you didn't nail that one, Chad. Turn 2, important to set the car up here close to the apex, washes out to the outside line. Now remember, rear-wheel drive car, you've got to get all that Murray Coote horsepower down. He's done a good job through there, and look, the thing's sticking like a vacuum cleaner there. Very, very hard.
Oh, now this is Max Cerrito that we're riding on board with. Takes a very wide mid part of the corner through turn 2. Still struggling to find third gear before the wheel spin kicks in.
Oh, look, they've all got them on kill this time, Chad. The shootout means probably a few more pounds of boost. Can those tyres hold in for one last flying lap? Oh, boy, pushing the apex there. It's 11-10 stuff, isn't it, Chad?
Yeah, trying to push his way inside the top four. He's currently in 5th at the moment, Max Cerrito. Nob Taniguchi's the man ahead of him, but last year's champions out on track right now. They're currently in 1st, with the sparks kicking up late into the night. This lands are putting out close to 1,000 horsepower, running out wide at turn 5.
He's not only trying to defend here, he's trying to attack. He's got to try and at least keep in front of a fast closing MCA Hammerhead. An amazing lap there for Shane van Gisbergen. How does he finish it off, Chad?
Patience in the throttle. Now he can pull top gear right now across the finish line, looking to find his way into the 124.8 area. Nearly 125.7 for Shane van Gisbergen, and MCA go to 2nd.
Oh, great lap, the first 25 for that car. Here comes Garf Walden on his finishing flyer. How does he go? He went at 24. Can he go again a little bit quicker? 24 comes up. Oh, 24.841. He's gone quicker again. But is that enough? I tell you what, under Suzuki is the only guy there that can unseat him there. Van Gisbergen's last lap, a 25.709. Under, pushing here on his final corner.
From Yokohama in Japan, he works day and night at his mum and dad's pharmacy to make the money to work on these cars, and now he's looking for a 124.84 to the line. Oh, 124.88. He misses it by just 0.04 of a second. It looks like Tilton Racing will be going back to back.
Well, how about that? And that looks like Shane van Gisbergen 2nd on the podium, then just pushed back on that final burst by Under Suzuki to be 3rd on the podium. But we're riding now with our winner and reigning World Time Attack Pro Class winner, Garf Walden.
Congratulations to the Tilton team. After hurting the engine badly at the Top Gear Festival, they've come back and they've claimed another win. It'll be what could have been for Under Suzuki. He got oh so close, but what a shootout at the end there. Shane van Gisbergen will take the final step on the podium. Nob Taniguchi will be home for 4th. Max Cerrito couldn't quite get the best, could he, out of the RE Amamea RX-7. As the boys come back into the pits, Shane van Gisbergen can be very happy with his efforts here this weekend. Also driving in Formula Drift as the boys untape him.
That's how serious they were, taping up the doors, all of the little cracks and areas in the car. Garf Walden, he's a happy guy. The crew absolutely ecstatic. Number 1 on the pit board and number 1 for 2014.
2004, he raced 6 rounds for the Supercar Championship, so he knows how to get the job done, and he's climbing to the roof. Tilton are your champions once again at Sydney Motorsport Park.
An amazing weekend where we've seen the average time drop by a couple of seconds out of our pro category, and boy, the sky is the limit for these cars. Amazing machinery, amazing teams, an amazing concept. Yokohama World Time Attack, the world's best time attack drivers down here in Sydney.
It's also a new record for a tin-top car here at Sydney Motorsport Park, that 124.8. Fantastic drive. To give you some perspective, it's 4 seconds quicker than Jason Bright's Supercar record. It's 6 seconds quicker than Alex Crivier on a 500cc motorcycle. Ricardo was down to the 1:11 earlier this year, but we're a long way off that kind of pace. Max Cerrito, he's been brave this weekend, bringing the RE Amamea RX-7 back down pit lane. That has been an amazing last session here at the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge. Time to hear from our winner.
Okay, we're down here right now with the champion of this year's World Time Attack Challenge, Garf Walden. Congratulations, an amazing performance. How was it?
Yeah, thanks. Wow, that was crazy at the end. We lost power coming on the main straight to finish the lap. I don't know, something went wrong with the engine, I think, and just had no grunt. So to just get it like that, it's full credit to all my boys. They've been working so hard all weekend and nothing but little problems, and we just got it out just to make the shootout. So without those boys, we wouldn't be here. And to our sponsor, Royal Purple Oils and Tilton Interiors, thank you guys.
And now that you've won, this car's won the event twice in a row. You're tying all kinds of records, and I think that the program is strong. And you had an amazing finish with Under Suzuki coming right behind it. Did you expect that to happen?
No, full credit to those guys. Wow, that's a fast rear-wheel drive car, I tell you. And to just get it 0.04 of a second, I was told on the radio, that's a bit too close for me.
It was extremely close. Well, now we're going to give you a chance to ride on board with Garf Walden in the Tilton Evo, champions once again in 2014. special stuff, rounding the last corner, and Garf Walden doing it once again. And good to see the use of the paddle shifts on board with this car this year. They went testing at Wakefield Park, just dusted the cobwebs off, and they now come back and reclaim their title as the champions here at Sydney Motorsport Park for the 2014 Yokohama World Time Attack. Congratulations. Good to see the local talent doing their thing. But how about under Suzuki? Oh, so close, just a couple hundredths of a second away from the big win. So close, but so far for the Japanese man who's traveled a long way. He's an owner driver. Very, very impressive, essentially a privateer setup. And he will be back next year once again. Time to check out how they finished in your outright results. And once again, a massive effort to be even considered inside the top 5 for Mick Sigsworth. That amazing 125.27, just 4/10 off the lap record set here last year, and that was done in the Pro-Am class, so congratulations to him as well. And a big thank you to Chris Diggles for his expert commentary throughout. This has been the 2014 Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge. We cannot wait to come back here for next year. Thanks for joining us here at Sydney Motorsport Park.